Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting under our new name, the Commission on Gender Equity for the City of Norwalk. So very excited to finally have our new name, our umbrella up there and under our new name. So our meeting today, March 10th, 2025. It's just doing a quick roll call. I see everyone is on. Chantel, have you joined us? No. Okay. No. Okay. All right. And is there a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting? Or is there a yes? Actually, we move to accept them and then we have a discussion. Moved by Jasmine to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
By Joy. And is there any comments or corrections?
I just want to make sure, last I read in the notes that we didn't technically vote to accept the minutes, so should we be voting on it this time?
Yes, I thought we did last time. Sarah, thank you for that.
problem.
So we'll wrap up these minutes and then we'll move to a motion for last week's you're saying last month's meeting, we did not accept the minutes?
We just didn't vote on it. We had a motion, we had a second, but then we didn't vote.
Okay. So we'll make sure we do that next for as a matter of record. Any comments, questions, edits for last month's minutes? Give everyone a second in case you're just scanning them now. I understand how that goes, myself included. Okay. All right, seeing no comments or questions, everyone in favor of accepting the minutes as written, please say aye or raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 yeses. Thank you. And no abstentions and no nays. Thank you. And Sarah, would you like to make a motion to accept, what would the date be? January's?
Yeah, sure. I don't have the date, but motion to accept the January
2025 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I'm sorry, who was that? I heard a voice.
Emma.
Emma. Thank you, Emma. Emma seconded. I do recall that we discussed them because I remember concern about the names and being misspelled. Excuse me. So is there all those in favor of accepting January's minutes as amended, please raise your hand. 7 yeas, no nos, no abstentions. Thank you.
Christina.
Yes.
I'm sorry, just on a related topic. I couldn't find the agenda in my email, so I just went on the website to try to pull it up. Esther, if you could help us or somebody from the city, our minutes haven't been updated since October and our agendas are showing from January. So that's unacceptable for public access. Everything needs to be posted online properly.
Thank you, Shannon. I did reach out to Esther to ask where they were, and there's 2 different websites now. But to your point, it's not clear from a public perspective, to my understanding, that from one date backwards you go to this site, onward you go to the current one. So I agree. I think as a matter of record that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, we're working with IT to making sure that there's links at every location so that people can know. But yes, that's correct. Everything post January 1st, 2025 is in a new portal. And anything prior would be in the old archive center. Just FYI. And I know that depending on how you normally navigate, you may not see, we do have multiple places where we state that, but unfortunately there are a few pockets in which it's not there. But,
So
but
how
we're
do we
working
know
with
which
IT
one
to
is
fix
the,
that issue.
Shannon,
how do we know?
on March 6th, Esther sent you, myself, and Yvonne the email with where they were. So my apologies, I didn't forward that to the whole commission. So, but Shannon, if you want to take a look, just as a matter of record, I can read it. So for agendas and minutes prior to January 1, actually, Esther, can I put things in the chat as a matter of record or no?
No, we can't do that. We also, just FYI, the chat feature has been disabled for all meetings.
Okay, thank you. Just so that I know. So I will send this, or Shannon or Yvonne, if you see the email again, it's from March 6th at 10:24 a.m.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can
in it
forward
right
it.
now. I see it, but we've
Again, it's
gotta
not
just,
public facing.
yeah, that's the problem. These minutes and everything are supposed to be available to the public. Ease of just like finding it. That's the whole point. So we've gotta figure out. I don't know. I don't want us to get in trouble with FOIA that we're not posting and updating stuff.
Correct. That's a fair point. Thank you, Shannon, for raising that. Thank you, Esther, for taking our concerns to note. So,
Yes, and just to make you aware, we are working with IT to try to remedy this as soon as possible.
thank you. Thank you so much. Chantel, good to see you. Well, thank you for joining us. Okay.
Nice to
Just
see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Chantel, I know that you were abroad I was going to say last semester, that's my other life, last year. So I do want to just point out and introduce you to Emma Dignati and Joy Diegar, who has joined our commission. Chantel Coffey has been a member from our reinstitution, but she was traveling for work last year, so she was not on many of our calls. So I'm happy to have you back and happy to have you meet the full commission.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Chantel.
So moving right along, is there anybody for public participation, Esther?
No, we do not have anybody.
On a related note, Esther, can we advertise on on the City Hall social media when our meetings are to encourage public participation?
I can pass the information along to the social media person, yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Because I think it's our second meeting in a row where we haven't had any public participation. And I know that the information is public and it's available, but I think just making sure that it's posted and we're making ourselves available. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that? No? Okay.
No, but I agree with the social media post. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we can even, I just thought of this, maybe announcing our name, our new name. Is that a possibility? Just reintroducing ourselves and sharing when we have meetings?
That's a really good point. That's a great idea, Jasmine. I hate to be that person that does this, but is there someone from the community outreach committee that could follow up with Esther to just keep that ball moving to make sure that that happens?
I can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jasmine. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Make note.
All right. All right, seeing that there's no public participation, the heart of our agenda tonight really is just committee updates, and just to have conversations on that. Before we do dive into that, I do just want to recognize that our name change does definitely put us in a contemporary spot with how gender issues and gender equity issues are addressed in a variety of spheres, and the language is much more normalized. So I'm happy that we're in that space, and that we will continue to be in that space to represent issues related to gender and marginalized populations in the city of Norwalk. So I am happy that we've gotten to that point. And committee updates. I just randomly put it alphabetically, community outreach. I know you guys have had some tough conversations around the reality of time and commitments and our ability to plan a large scale event. So I just like to hear kind of what the thought process is. And there is no downside to just saying, you know what, this isn't going to happen at this time. And then, and identify maybe some smaller items and activities like promoting us on social media that we might be able to do. So I'm not sure who from the committee would just like to jump in.
I can try to recap, but everyone please chime in.
Thank you. Susan.
So we had a really hard time finding a time to meet. So we had a conversation by email. It basically appears that there's no capacity, at least in our committee, for anyone to lead the. It's both like guess commitment to the specific event, so like the impact awards, and also capacity to put the time into it. So there was an idea. I presented the idea to do like in June some sort of like 9 to 3 conference where like small business owners that fall into our mission could come, and we could have like different types of workshops, but again that takes a lot of bandwidth, and there was just not a single person that could take on the logistics of everything. So at this point, we're thinking we can revisit the impact awards, because I think in the last meeting, one of the comments was it's something that we could do every 2 years, which would increase also the nominations. So I think at this point, our committee would probably advise the larger commission to revisit the impact awards for next year and perhaps be able to do it um, in another month that doesn't coincide with, or maybe we want to do it with Pride or do it in March like we used to. And then one of the suggestions that we wanted to pose to the larger committee is potentially partnering with community organizations or groups that fall into our mission. I looked at other commissions, city commissions, and there are like the Bike Walk Commission, for example. They partner with community organizations or community groups to co-sponsor events or to sort of spread awareness of the existence of their commission. So I'm not sure if anyone on in this group has any existing connections with groups that might be interested in such partnerships in the future, because that's another way that we can have events but divide the capacity with organizations that might have more bandwidth and already have these events on their schedule.
So as we kind of spoke about before, I'm a member of the Haven Entrepreneurial Women's Group that encompasses Fairfield County. And they have these events all the time. And I just happened to have the conversation with the owner about possibility of suggesting partnering with them and having a site, or I'm not sure how available sites are in Norwalk, but she was very amenable to helping us getting it going, because she's been doing it now 9 years in business there. And she also has an office in Greenwich.
What's the name of it, Joy?
I think it's like, is it Haven the Workspace?
It is, but it's also a women's networking group for business
Okay, awesome. And they're located where right now?
in Derry and Greenwich.
Right, okay. Um,
There's
I had a question for, I don't know if it would be Esther or maybe Shannon would know, but are there rules around city commissions partnering with community organizations or businesses?
Good question.
I
Nothing
will,
comes, we can check, nothing immediately comes to mind. I don't know,
But
the one
something
thing I
maybe we
was,
could follow up on.
Yeah, we should look into it. But the one thing I was thinking too, we're gonna do, again, future planning, we're gonna do like a multi-chamber event, hopefully in the fall. And I'm sure I could figure out a way to get you guys a table, so that we could be there, and that's gonna be open to the community at large. So that'd be a great way to reach a lot of people.
Mhm.
WBDC also would be a great organization to contact, friend Pastori, one of you would have the time because they do events in the whole Fairfield County. They have
Mhm.
they have a good place in Stamford. They're very well known. I think it would be a great organization to partner with. I used to be a board member, but it's been a while. I'm not in touch with anyone because I was away. But the CEO
Mhm.
is friend Pastor or Pastori.
I do know Fran well enough to be able to reach out to her. I'm sure maybe some others on the call do as well. I just want us to be mindful that our focus is Norwalk, right? So touching other organizations or other events where there's a large population from outside the city, outside of Norwalk, we just want to be mindful of that, just so that our resources and time and efforts are focused on um, marginalized identities here in Norwalk. So just a thought, not that dictates who we partner with, but I just think we want to make sure that we bring the Norwalk to
Right,
whatever event we're
right,
partnering with, no matter who it is. It's a
right.
kind of a
But
kitschy way to
they
say it,
cover
but
the state of Connecticut.
yes, no, I know they do. Yes.
Mhm.
And they have indeed done workshops and programs in Norwalk before.
Mhm.
So may I suggest that maybe the committee just get something that this commission can maybe react to. First, we can definitely follow up to check on, and I can follow up with Esther, and Michelle is back. I think I'm not sure if she's back in the beginning of April or the end of April. And I'll follow up on the kind of rules or regulation piece of partnerships and partnering. So I'll follow up on that. And then if um, Chantel, you said you don't have a current relationship with WBDC.
Oh, I can contact friend anytime. It's just
Okay.
if I have formal, I I will talk to you directly and know exactly what I need to ask her, but I can anytime.
Well, right. So I think that's part of it is maybe between now and the next commission meeting,
Mhm.
with a little bit more lead time, maybe, 15, 20 minutes or a half hour together to kind of prioritize which of these groups might be of value to
Okay.
our partnering with, or just kind of like listing them all. And then
So,
we can take your recommendation. It sounds like all of them, and knowing a lot of them, it sounds like all of them are worthy organizations that we could leverage additional capacity with exact as
right.
well.
And in no, it's Darien. Does it border of Darien and Norwalk? Haven, are you familiar? It's a workplace, but it's a place for women.
That's what Joy was just saying. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
I know the owner.
Perfect. So that's good. So
Yeah.
two people have said the same word. That's great.
Um,
Sarah, you were going to jump in
Another one is the Triangle Community Center.
with Ashley,
Uh,
maybe.
But yeah, I was also thinking of more Norwalk centered. And Shannon, if you know any like business um owners that fall into our mission, I was just trying to put together a list, but all of that is dependent on whether or not we're allowed to partner or how we are allowed to partner. But I
Yeah,
know
I was
that
gonna say I have a couple places that have space and are looking to collaborate. Again, what can we do? What can't we do? And then once we kind of get our arms around what we want to do, I can go and kind of pull different places that might work because there's definitely people reaching out all the time, like they want to engage people into their space. So
perfect. So the other thing, if we're, for example, tabling somewhere or um co-sponsoring an event, it would be helpful for us to have something that we're spreading awareness about in terms of what we do. So I think something that we have to think about as a larger commission, because what the other subcommittee is doing will inform that. But if there's things like, we're working on the representation of marginalized gender identities in other commissions, then we should have like some information about what open spaces there are on commissions, and if we're helping like create support on the state level for certain policies, then we should have information about that. So I think it would be helpful, and maybe in the report that the subcommittee is just going to do next, we'll have more ideas. But if we want to spread awareness about what our commission does, I think it's important to be clear on what our main priorities are at any moment, at any given moment.
Agreed. I think that's a good idea, Sarah. Thank you. Shannon?
Just sorry about like what we want to do in our priorities. Like I think the girls wrestling, the Norwalk High girls wrestling just won the first state championship. We should be celebrating that. We should be like you guys did for the softball team. We
Absolutely.
should have them on. We should honor them. Like engaging, that's the youth and all of it, but that's something really to be celebrated, in women's sports and everything. So making that outreach to get them, I know one of the moms that's, her daughter won. Maybe we have them at the next meeting just to honor them, and just say congratulations and we're so proud of Norwalk.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Shannon. How did I miss that?
Great idea.
It's been all over the social media today, so it's really exciting.
Was it today
yeah.
that it was?
Yeah. Yeah, they won yesterday or Saturday, so
Okay,
it started
okay,
getting
good.
posted today.
I haven't been on social media today. I feel
Yeah,
better.
it just came out today.
Does
Still
anyone
new.
know how to contact them to see if they can come to our next meeting just to say?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Or
I'm friends.
just email?
Emily's friends with one of the younger sisters of the girls that won, so I can definitely get to them and get them on.
You can.
Can I suggest though that we make sure we go through the coach in the school, because
No,
I
I
think
will
it's
get the contact. Yeah, so it's done
Yeah.
the right way. Yes.
correct, because I think the
Yeah.
team and the parents might definitely be responsive, but
Yeah,
I
but it needs
think
to go through the school.
yeah,
Yes.
and more importantly, so that the community knows that it's not just our commission that is recognizing them. It's us with the school system, with the coaches,
Yeah.
not just, yeah, thank you. That
Yeah.
just came to mind, that's all. Like organizationally and structurally support them as well.
Yep.
Thank you. Great idea. All right. Great report. I do have one question or suggestion. Would the committee be open to, and this isn't something that has to be done like now, but between now and maybe 2 meetings, would you be able to put together a proposed timeline for the awards program for next year so that we don't find ourselves sort of behind the 8 ball? I'm happy to help with that in some way, but that might be a helpful way to make sure that it's on the timeline, like in our radar for next year. So if between, like, say in 2 months, just to have a proposed timeline for the award process. Is that something people would be open to?
I can do that. I can look back in my emails because we had the schedule last time and it worked. So we just need to back into the new time,
Right.
back
And
into
start
the
about a
date.
month earlier. That's what I do
Yeah.
remember. Even then it
Yeah,
was.
it was a little tight, but yeah, I'll dig around in my email and I'll see what I can come up with.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay. Excellent. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns, queries for the committee? And I do want to acknowledge Joy did raise her hand to try to lead. She said she would be very happy to co-lead a program that Sarah outlined, which actually looked really phenomenal. So that was a great program outline. And Joy said she'd be willing to co-lead, but I don't think we ever found another co. So I do want to just acknowledge that and thank you, Joy, for offering and to that degree. So thank you. Chantel?
Never mind. I was going, there's someone already volunteered. That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I know Sharon could not be with us tonight, so between Yvonne and Emma, who would like to give the update for policy advocacy?
I can jump in.
Thanks.
So we met following our last commission meeting. We met directly after that meeting. And we discussed a bit about our priorities and where we're going. one thing that we've been discussing and working with Christina on actually is inviting Melvet Hill to come speak at what I believe will be our April commission meeting.
Yes,
Correct me
next
if I'm
meeting.
wrong,
Yep.
Christina.
Mhm.
Melvet, I believe, is the chair of the Connecticut statewide commission on the status of women, I believe is the name for the Connecticut commission, right?
So it's the executive director of the Commission of Women, Children, and Families. That's okay. I'm gonna.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So she's going to come and presumably talk about that group's priorities and the work that they're doing. And so we can learn sort of, by their example and see what they're doing. So perhaps we can get some ideas about ways that we can be helpful in Norwalk, but also see if there are any ways in which we can support their work from our position in Norwalk. Also, this month is Women's History Month. And we did reach out to the city because we wanted to make sure that, if there are any events that the city is putting on, that we know about them and that we're invited to them. Unfortunately, it seems like the city is not putting on any events. So that is what it is on that point. And then we've also worked on identifying several different priorities through the idea of coalitions, meaning groups of people organized around a specific priority who are already organized in this state, and identifying certain of these priorities and groups or coalitions that we can support through our work and that we can learn about their work as well. So we've identified several different areas, and Sharon, Yvonne, and I have been researching organizations that work in these areas, as well as individual representatives of these organizations. And we've been reaching out to them to try to see if we could drum up some interest for them to meet first with our committee, and then, assuming that goes well, presumably with the commission as a whole, to again sort of discuss priorities and ways that we can support their work. So the general advocacy areas that we've identified are immigration and LGBTQ plus, as well as healthcare, domestic violence, sexual abuse, and child care. So we've identified a number of organizations in those areas, just from our own network, as well as internet research, including the Connecticut Immigrant Support Network, Equality Connecticut, LGBTQ plus Justice and Opportunity Network, the Reproductive Freedom Coalition or Alliance, the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. And so that has sort of been our research, and we've reached out to representatives of most of these. There are a few that we haven't reached out to yet, including, I believe, the Reproductive Healthcare Coalition. So we're working on that. At least as far as my outreach, I haven't heard back from anyone yet. I saw that Sharon sent a follow-up email to one of her organizations, so she hadn't heard back either. So I'm not sure if we're going to end up striking out here, but we are trying to, make some more connections and see the sort of work that's going on around the state as we, identify our areas of legislative advocacy to follow up on. One other thing, which is sort of a follow-up to something that Representative Gilchrist told us about a couple months ago, when she mentioned the possibility of a constitutional amendment or discussion about a constitutional amendment in Connecticut as far as reproductive health care goes. There was Senate Joint Resolution number 35, which seems to sort of touch on that issue. And that's something that we've identified to follow up on as it goes through the legislative process as well.
Thank you. You guys have been busy. And I'm sure a lot of those same agencies are also doing a lot of lobbying during the legislative session.
Yes.
So that may be partially the holdup in hearing back. just, going before appropriations, providing testimony on here, on bills, et cetera. So that might be part of it. And I think, I'm sure others saw this too, but when you were talking, Emma, about the potential coalitions, I think then those particular coalitions could also provide potential partnership organizations. I mean, it's,
That's
we,
true.
in the community outreach group, we talked about partnerships, and you're using the word coalition when in reality they may be very similar in nature. So it's just something to keep in mind.
That's a
Excellent.
great point.
Thoughts, questions, comments, queries, curiosities?
I
Sorry.
do have a question that's slightly unrelated, but related to your subcommittee. Has there been any discussion of like, or how it works for succession planning? Because a lot of us, our terms end in September.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for pointing that out and giving me great anxiety.
Well,
Thank you.
it helps.
Succession planning noted. By a show of hands, do you know whose term is up? And we actually have 2 openings that we've been waiting patiently to have filled.
Yeah, so it's you,
Oh,
me, Chantal, Jasmine, and that's it. I mean, not that's it. That's a lot of people, but
and let's come back to the succession planning in 1 second, just because I don't want to forget that. We'll definitely come back to that, but I want to make sure if there's any questions or comments for Emma and Yvonne for the Policy Advocacy Committee, anything for that group? Reactions, anything? So thank you seriously though, Sarah, for raising that, personally, as well as for the group. So I think it's something that, Yvonne and Shannon and I can talk about in the next, in our next kind of executive call, just the 3 of us, where we kind of, identify strategies and things we need to pay attention to and address. And I think that obviously is one of them. I don't remember off the top of my head right now what the bylaws say about running again or consecutive terms. So we probably would want to just make sure that the commission is aware of that. Shannon, you're shaking your head. You're reading it or you're not sure?
No, I don't think we put any term limits in. I'm
Okay.
almost positive, but I'll add that to my
Verify
list of
that.
follow-ups to dig around.
yeah, I
Okay,
just
thank
don't know what that means though. Does that mean like we ought to, like what's the formal process of either being
Correct.
asked to continue or saying you're not continuing?
Right. No, that's part of the, I think, what we have to find out the logistics of it. So, very good question.
I'll pull it all up, but I'm pretty sure we did pretty straightforward bylaws that if you want to continue and the commission wants you to continue, you're back on for 3 years. There's no formal process. If you decide to step down, you step down. It's not, I'll check the bylaws, but I remember we made it pretty straightforward.
Okay. We'll make sure we follow up on that at the next meeting. And similar to that, there are 2 vacancies currently on the commission. And I know that there is a resume under review in the mayor's office. I have not heard back about the status of that, but please think of your professional and personal network. And if there is someone that does the online form, or if there is someone that you're aware of that's interested, please let us know, and I will be very persistent at following up on the status of the review of it. Ultimately, it's just a courtesy that we're notified if the person was or was not was obviously if they get appointed, we'll know because we'll be told. But the applications that have gone in for review over the last year or so, I have regularly asked for updates on the status of it because it's sort of it goes in a holding pattern until we know either yes or no. And again, the final decision is made by the mayor's office. So just to be clear on that. So please think of how we can continue to grow and represent the diverse population in Norwalk. And if you can think of someone, again, please make sure they put their name forward. So, all right. Let's say that was under new business. So who's ever taking the minutes or when they record the minutes, if you could please place that under new business, that would be appreciated. Any additional discussions, questions, concerns? Chantel, you had your hand up earlier. It was up for a bit, so my apologies if you had something at the time, or was that left over from before?
No, I think it was left over from before. I apologize. I took it down. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Chantel. No other discussion? Questions, comments, queries? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by Shannon, seconded by Jasmine. Thank you, Chantel. All those in favor, do we vote to adjourn? All those in
Yep.
favor? Yes.
Yes.
7 yeses, no abstentions, no nos. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great
Have a
week.
good
Take
night.
care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you
you.
too.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.